Hello and welcome to Record Sports Hotline Live. My name is Daniel Caw and I am ecstatic, overjoyed to be joined by Gavin Berry and Keith Jackson, and all the way from Celtic Park, Michael Gannon. Guys, how are you?
Evening, Dan. All well?
All right, Dan.
All right, chaps.
Very good, thanks.
It's some night tonight. It's beautiful out here tonight. It's a wee barbecue night tonight. I think the last of the barbecue season, or the first of the barbecue season where the summers went.
Look at you, we're sweltering in this office, Mick.
Oh, well.
Keith's even got the shorts on. You can't see it, but Keith's got the shorts on.
I'm not even sure. It's just
I'll keep you a hamburger and a coffee kebab.
some pair of legs he's got.
Mick, you're obviously at Celtic Park. Celtic get the Champions League campaign underway tonight against Slovan Bratislava. A really big game for Celtic. One that it's kind of weird to see in the Champions League night that they're strongly expected to win.
Yes, absolutely huge. Well, what a chance they've got. I mean, opening game, probably, arguably the weakest team in the competition at home in the first game. Couldn't have cherry picked a better tie, really. Listen, the caveat is I'm not writing off Slovan Bratislava. They've come through several ties to get here, including beating Midfield, so they're going to be awkward. They're going to be a difficult team to play against, and they've got goals in their team, so they're not going to be a walkover. But listen, you look at the list of teams that Celtic have got in this first game, and you look at some of the results that are in Europe last night in the first games when they like Dinamo Zagreb getting 9 put past them.
Yeah.
Young boys Bern getting thumped at home by Aston Villa. 2 teams that Celtic are going to face, by the way. That's a good sign for Celtic as well. Them getting clattered. But it just shows you what can happen in the opening games. But Celtic have got a fairly gentle as you can get game to start off with. And that means they've got to get a win on the board.
It's funny, Mick, because when you said arguably the weakest team in the competition at home, I thought you were referring to Celtic there because they were playing at home. But you didn't mean that. You didn't mean that.
That's a comma somewhere.
But in terms of Bratislava, though, are we in danger of just maybe getting ahead of ourselves here? We've been in this movie, I don't know how many times, Mick, before. I've been sat next to you at Celtic Park on a Champions League night, and people are going into it with decent level of confidence, and then all of a sudden these sides turn up, sides that we might have perhaps underrated, and they're technically superb, they're competent, they can keep hold of the ball. Look, I hate to use the cliche, it's been thrown out a couple of times already this week, no easy games in Europe, but it does apply, and this is the Champions League. So I think, as much as I agree with you, and as much as I agree that if Celtic have to have serious ambitions about making the playoffs and having a shot at getting into the last 16 of this competition, they must win tonight's game to have any chance of that, I think. But I just don't think it's going to be as straightforward as some people seem to suggest. I'm tipping Celtic to win this 2-1 tonight, but I think it could get sticky at points.
Yeah.
Listen, I agree. But listen, you'll often hear Celtic talking about rival teams in this competition saying, look at their budget.
Yeah.
It's 3 times, 4 times, 5 times our budget. And then tonight, you're looking at Celtic's budget's far but greater than Slovan Bratislava's. But
20 times, Mick.
How many times, sorry?
20 times, about 20 times. I think Slovan Bratislava's combined squads on transfer fees is about £3 million. Just in fact,
so there you go. It works both ways. Celtic are rightly favourites for this game. But listen, the name Bratislava gives a few of us heebie-jeebies. I mean, Celtic fans in particular, remember our media back in the day, that shocker. I remember a Scotland game in Bratislava with you, Keith, when Scotland gets clattered. I think we were feeling a bit delicate that night as well. I think we ate something dodgy. Maybe a dodgy dinner night before the game. So it was a bit of a bad night all around there. So the name itself conjures up some terrible memories for Scotland and Celtic fans. Can't underestimate this team, but they should have enough to expect to beat them. Like I say, they could not have asked for a better tie at home to open the campaign with.
And of course, the man
got to take advantage.
I was going to say the man in charge in the away dugout tonight was the man in charge that night, wasn't it? I mean, Bratislava, but I mean, that was one of those games.
Vladimir Weiss,
senior
or middle. Did you know that?
I only read that this morning. Yes, middle. Sorry.
So Vladimir Weiss Junior. He's not so junior anymore. He's 34.
Mm-hmm.
He might start.
Yeah, captain, isn't he?
Captain, yeah. So he should start. Mm-hmm. Vladimir Weiss, middle guy, is the manager, and Vladimir Weiss Senior used to also be a Czech. Yeah, I think he played for the Czech Republic, Czechoslovakia, the
Yeah.
Czechoslovakia international.
Yeah, a
Because I
while.
was getting a bit confused. I keep hearing Vladimir's vice name and I'm going, what, he's player and manager? So
it's
yeah,
Vladimir
that's
Vice senior is actually Vladimir Vice junior, and Vladimir Vice junior is actually Vladimir Vice the third.
that's right. That's right, Matt.
You keep up with this. But he's wily, isn't he? I love that word. He's a wily manager. That's what I was thinking when Keith was talking about. He'll be stuffy. I mean, he took Slovakia at the World Cup. He's been around the block. So they won't be easy. They will make it tricky. But you think Celtic? Well, you talk about that Media Bratislava result, Michael. It was a freak result. Celtic were in a period of transition at that time. Obviously feeling the effects of Martin O'Neill leaving and Gordon Strachan coming in. So it was just bad timing. I mean, if you look, Brendan Rodgers already said it himself, this is the best prepared he's ever been for Celtic going into the Champions League. So I can't see them catching them out. Certainly not like that. Certainly not a big one like that. But even by avoiding defeat, I just can't see it.
No, listen, you've got to think that. Can you imagine if this was a playoff, getting the Champions League, and this was how they got in the draw? They'd be doing cartwheels in Jane Field Street. They really would. I mean, that's the level they're at. But it's European football. They are going to be technical. You look at the results. They've got a lot of goals in their team in their own league. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we have to take the caveat of that with the standard of the Slovak league. We don't really know in terms of the level it's at. But I think if Celtic start the way they start on the home front in Scotland here, that intensity, that kind of quick movement, getting really wired in early on, set the tone, get the crowd up. You can see them getting a positive result here, and you can actually see it. I remember in the Rodgers' first spell, the home qualifiers. Remember the Hapoel Beersheva night when they put 5 past them. They got a bit ahead of steam going up, that kind of thing. I'm not saying they're going to get 5 goals tonight, right? But I'm saying that kind of intensity, that kind of pressure that can start right from the start, right from the kickoff. I think that could tell. When they get an early goal, they'll be comfortable, I think. But if they don't, it could be a tense night.
I really hope you're right, and I hope it is a comfortable night. But as I said last night on here, I can't remember the last time we watched a Scottish team have a comfortable night in the Champions League. Yeah. They don't seem to come around very often at all. No. What I would say though, Mick, is when you look at the games in this league format that the Champions League is now, 3 points tonight could go a very, very long way to help Celtic get to where they need to be, which is effectively 24th. You're looking at it maybe anywhere between 8 and 10 points by the end, and you think you'd be sitting with a more than reasonable chance. And if you can take 3 of them at home to Slovan Bratislava, you can then let's kind of just wipe out the next 2, Dortmund and Atalanta away, right? Forget about it. Yeah. Leipzig and Bruges at home. Now, if you've taken 3 points from this game tonight, and then you've got back-to-back games at home against Leipzig and Bruges, I think you're going into that thinking, well, even 4 points from these 2 games is not a bad return. That's you sitting on 7. You're then away to Zagreb. We saw their result last night, and then you've got Young Boys at home before Villa away to complete the matches. Now, I genuinely think Celtic are more than capable of getting 10 points and above here out of these matches, but I really do think it could hinge on getting off to a flying start tonight, because if not, if you didn't start well, win tonight and then went to Dortmund and Atalanta, by the time Leipzig come,
you're right.
You're in a real
It's
pressure situation.
It changes everything. You imagine it does go wrong tonight, and it's a draw, or even it's a defeat. You're right. You're going to Dortmund and Atalanta, and you've got to. It's like, well, we need to go and get something there. It's so much of it. The key to qualification is tonight. It's winning. It's winning well. Suddenly you're going to these other games. I
take winning any way you can.
Okay. No. It would be nice to do it with a swagger, and to be playing the way Brendan Rodgers likes his Celtic teams to play, a bit of energy, to really get them on a high. And then you're going to those games, and suddenly Dortmund, it's a different proposition, because you're sort of going there saying, well, we've got nothing to lose. It's a totally different mentality.
3 points in the bag tonight is going to make all the difference.
Can I ask Mick? Obviously, a lot's been said about Celtic's midfield and Celtic's midfield in the build-up to tonight's game. Who would you start with? Who would your 3 in the middle be?
See, this is an interesting one. There has been a bit of debate, hasn't there? Excuse me.
You all right, mate?
Sorry, man flu is getting me. Man flu is coming for me. Turbo COVID. I mean, you've got to think it's going to start with. I mean, the question is Arnie Engels, Hatate, Bernardo, 2 out of the 3. You've got to think the Engels at the £11 million signing is going to be in that midfield. I know he's only played a game. I think Hatate's got to start as well. I know people are talking about Hatate for Bernardo. I think Bernardo was put up last night to the press as a little bit of red herring for the Bratislava manager. I think it'll be Engels and Hatate in there. You don't bring a guy in for that kind of money who's played more than 50 games in the Bundesliga and then don't play him in the games that matter. I think he plays tonight. I could be proved wrong in about half an hour, but I think Hatate and Engels will be the one. I think what he'll ask them to do is empty their tank. You have got Bernardo on the bench that can come on. So if one of them is starting to, I mean, Engels he's played this season, so he's not exactly not match fit. He's actually played more than Bernardo. So, but if any of them are starting to feel it a bit, he's got Bernardo on the bench to show it up as well. So I think he's in good shape, no matter who he goes with. But I think Engels and Hatate will be the one. But I'm not Brendan Rodgers. I don't get paid millions of pounds a year, obviously. If you could tell me, look at me.
Mick, I was going to say, I've actually been a bit surprised at how much Hatate's been dismissed a bit by fans when this debate's come around. It's almost been, sorry?
Some fans, not fans.
Sorry, by some fans who are looking for Bernardo to play ahead of Hatate, because, I mean, I think they're just forgetting how important Hatate is. And I think the other key thing here is that because of the way we expect the game tonight, that Celtic are going to play with energy and play on the front foot. I think that's when Hatate is more important. If they were going away to Dortmund or if they were playing against a higher level of opposition, it might be slightly different. You could maybe see the argument for Paulo Bernardo. But I think tonight, for the way we expect it to be, they want to get off to a good start, a positive start. Really, Hatate surely has to play ahead of Bernardo.
Yeah, I get it, but I also understand why there's a little bit of a conundrum around Hatate, because Hatate's strength sometimes at this level is also his weakness. He's so unpredictable. He takes a lot of chances with his passing. He plays off the cuff, and these moments are what create chances, especially at the elite level. So that's the positive. But at the same time, when they don't come off, it's risky, and you can get punished. I think we saw it in the first campaign under Hans Postecoglou, a couple of Hollywood balls that did come off, and some that didn't come off, it puts it under pressure. So his actual strength, his unpredictability, can be a weakness at times as well. So I understand Bernardo is slightly more disciplined in his approach and his play, a little bit more cautious. So I can understand that kind of debate. For me, I think Hatate, that unpredictability, that off the cuff, I think he works well with Kyogo. Yeah. I think we need that, and he can create a bit of magic that can create a chance at this level. Yeah. So I think you need that.
He also covers a lot. He also covers a lot of ground in there, Mick, doesn't he? Are you okay,
strong,
Mick?
He's strong. No, I told you I've got man flu.
That's the thing, Mick. We're talking about
tonight.
Mick, we're talking about the golfing quality between these two teams tonight, and Bratislava, I think, are they're the lowest ranked in the whole competition, aren't they? So you're less likely to be punished. That's what I'm talking about. If you're playing against a Dortmund or Atalanta, then maybe there's more of an argument for Bernardo, but you're less likely to be punished at home against Slovan Bratislava.
No, I totally agree. So I think that the spark that he provides in the attacking third as well, I think is for tonight. Nice for tonight to be absolutely perfect.
I was reading earlier that the Opta stats have it as Celtic, of all the opening games in the Champions League this midweek, that Celtic are the most likely statistically to win of any of the other fixtures, even more than Bayern Munich against Zagreb last night. That was 9-2.
And as well, Gav, some of the bookies have got Slovan Bratislava. It's 13-1 to win. I mean, when's the Champions League team come to Glasgow and have those odds?
Absolutely crazy. Listen, don't trust the bookies. They're trying to lure you in. Don't trust them.
I'm just a wee bit uncomfortable with all this. As I said earlier, let's judge Slovan Bratislava when we see them. I think they're getting written off, and maybe hopefully they will. Hopefully they'll turn up their absolute cannon fodder. But it very rarely is the case at Champions League. I think what you have to say, and where there should be a confidence level with Celtic, though, is that, I had to write a piece for the website earlier on today about this. when Brendan Rodgers first came in and had his first press conference, the day he was unveiled for the Brendan Rodgers 2.0, first thing that he said was, and he said it, if he said it once, he must have mentioned it about, I don't know how many times over the course of an hour. He kept talking about the aim has to be success in Europe. What does success in Europe look like? He was asked, well, look, we need to be realistic. We're not going to win the Champions League, but we need to do better. We need to have more success. We need to make leave more of a footprint on the competition. And this is what I think. At the time, I sat and listened to this, and I thought, well, I wonder, is there anything else that you can say? Is there any other road for you to go down other than that? Because, you swept the board up here previously domestically. That fell away. But then Ange Postecoglou came in, and he swept the board. So you coming back, and let's face it, there was a groundswell against his appointment. So promising a return to what Ange Postecoglou was doing domestically wasn't going to be enough. So you had to kind of throw out that extra layer of promise and, jam tomorrow and the Champions League. But you're thinking, going, well, it didn't work the last time. What are you going to do differently this time that's going to all of a sudden let you crack the European code? I actually think that he's been working on that for 12 months, pushing the board, urging them to go a little bit bolder in the transfer market. Rather than spending £15 million in 6 players, spend £15 million in 3 or 4, that sort of thing. And this time, he's going in properly equipped, properly tooled up. And we're talking about this, who starts in midfield? Is it Bernardo? Do you know something? Is it going to make that much of a difference? No. And do you know why? Because he's actually assembled a squad here where you can make changes to the personnel without having the big drop-off in quality. And that's what he's been pushing for his whole time. And I genuinely believe him when he says he feels Celtic are in the best shape going into this campaign than they have done at any previous European campaign that he's been in charge of.
And you're right, but let's not kid ourselves. Where he's got lucky and why he has to take full advantage is the draw. Because we all agree this draw. He could have put a squad like that together.
And if you Real Madrid tonight.
Yeah, and again Real Madrid and PSG, and you could end up with, you could end up with a group of death, and it might not have mattered. Okay, you still have to put up a real fight, in the games. But the draw has really helped him, and I think that is what he has been lacking. And he was asked about this in his first spell, and he kind of dismissed it. But I think someone asked, it was on the eve of Bayern Munich coming to Celtic Park. Do you feel as if you need this sort of statement win? Martin O'Neill had Juventus and Gordon Strachan had the AC Milan win and the Man United win. He's not had that. And I mean, tonight wouldn't be that either, but you feel as if that's what you just feel as if he needs one of those, a real biggie, a real big European night. Because even...
But this is what I'm talking. If you look at and you're right about the section. If you look at these games that I've just went through there, you can actually qualify for the playoffs for the last 16 without taking a statement scalp.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And that'll do. It'll take that off.
He won't need that. Yeah. If he progresses into the kind of knockout stage, then he won't need that.
In terms of up front, Mick, I don't suppose there's any debate, is there really?
Can't see it. Can you? I think Kyogo's got to start, hasn't he?
I think so.
Yeah, I think that's a natural choice. He's made a really good start to the season. He looks like his game. I know there was a lot made last season about the way he was playing was the same as the year before. I don't agree with that this season. I think his game has changed slightly this season. He can drop deep, he can spin. I actually thought it was really interesting, the Rangers game, the way Celtic played that match. They actually played that as a dry run for Europe. And I'm not saying they were toying with Rangers or took them lightly, but I think they tried things in that game which I hadn't seen before in that kind of match. And it was interesting. And I think it was a dummy run for Europe. And Kyogo was very much involved in that. They coming in deep, dragging defenders into that hole. I thought, obviously, the Rangers went man for man in the middle of the park. But I thought it was really clever. I thought it was almost like a dress rehearsal for Champions League.
One area where there is a wee bit of debate in the comment section, we've had this in from Rab G, who says, surely Trusty was bought for nights like this. I like Scales, but surely an upgrade is needed for the Champions League. I mean, I don't think any of you guys would imagine that Trusty's going to come in with Celtic having not even conceded a goal yet domestically.
Not a chance.
No. But
No
you do think that Brendan Rodgers will be behind. He's going to wait for the moment, because I think I totally agree that you don't spend that kind of money if you're not going to put him in at some point. And you're right, Liam Scales has played. He's defied a lot of the doubters, and it would be harsh on him. Same goes for Greg Taylor when people are talking about him dropping out. These guys have performed so well, but the whole point of spending the money that they have on players like that is to upgrade.
Well, I don't know about you, Mike, but I said the other night, I think Liam Scales is one of these players who's had the Brendan Rodgers magic dust sprinkled on him a little bit. He was fine last season, more than fine, more than adequate, solid, steady. This season, I think he's taken his game up a level. I really do. I'm really impressed by him. And I think that's why trustees having to sit there just now. If Scales had perhaps stayed at the same level as last season, maybe that change would have been made already.
Yeah.
I think Scales has been so impressive early this season that it's impossible to make that change. And quite rightly so. Now, there will come a time when there's a heavy burden on players in terms of, the energy that's being used up in Europe in a midweek night and then domestically at the weekend. And that's when it'll get shifted around and players can get dipped in and out of the... But right now, Liam Scales, you can absolutely hang your hat on him. I think he's vastly improved. Just in the first few weeks of the season, I think his passing's better. I think he looks more confident. I think he looks steadier. I just don't think that's a change that you would even contemplate for 30 seconds ahead of this game tonight. It wouldn't even cross my mind if I was Brendan Rodgers.
No, he plays tonight. This is a test, by the way, because I think he has started the season really well. But this is where we find out how much he's improved. I think at times last season at this level, I think he struggled.
I agree.
Even a couple of set pieces and all that stuff in the positional sense. I think tonight we'll find out. I don't think he's been tested much at home. By the way, the whole Celtic defence hasn't really been tested that much in Scotland this season. I think we'll find out probably tonight at times how they can cope. And that'll be the big. I think it's a big question, by the way, because Celtic defending in Europe has killed them in recent seasons. They've played well at times, looked really good in attack at times, but they've let in some horrific goals, and that's what's really hurt them. And this is what they need to find out: have they learned to defend better at this level? And that includes all of them, not just Liam Scales.
Yeah.
Before I know you'll have pre-match duties, Mick, and we'll need to let you go soon. But just before we do, let me run through a few comments that have come into us. Greg Stott watching live on YouTube, watching from Ontario, Canada. Fellow Scott, thanks, Greg. You are very welcome. Right. Matt Gill, we're going out all guns blazing. Nick O'Donnell, it's time for the real Celtic to stand up in the Champions League. Let's keep our winning run intact. Jack Jones, not seen Bratislava, but imagine this to be an evenly matched game. Home advantage could tip it in our favour. And this final one that I wanted to throw at all of you. Dan here asking, these guys must have been at some incredible historic European nights. What's the best games you've ever had the pleasure to go to?
Oh.
Who wants it first?
Mick.
don't all run at once.
I don't know. I must admit, I'm a bit like a sado. I must admit, the nights at the San Siro, the Bernabeu, the Nou Camp, was the one I remember. It's just the experience of going to these places. You watching TV for all those years. The Nou Camp one was one. Probably shouldn't reveal it. I was looking forward to that, but like a bucket list one. I actually took a wee bit unwell before the game. There must have been, again, something I did the night before.
Your pre-match meals are terrible,
honestly,
Michael.
I'm a terrible constitution abroad sometimes. And I had to dash away before kick-off. And I could hear the Champions League music in the background. I was in the bathroom and I was like, oh, the bucket list has been completely ruined. But once I got out there, we got the game. It was a great experience seeing all that.
Sorry, did you say the bucket was completely ruined? No. Oh, no, the bucket list.
I'll say no more, right?
It is an old stadium.
Terrible week stomach sometimes.
I tell you what, that is, Mick. See, the first time as a journalist that you walk into the Nou Camp, into the press box, which is just so high up. I mean, it's you're so far up in the main stand, hanging above it.
See that gap at the front, Keith? Is it quite scary, isn't it? You actually think you can fall right on the front of it.
Well, it's kind of like the old press box at Hampden was like that. It kind of hung over the pitch. You kind of sat there like that, looking almost right down on top of the pitch. But the first time that you walk into the Nou Camp, I remember it was. Do you know something? I'm not sure if it was Celtic or Rangers were playing there in the Champions League. I think it was Celtic. It might have been even the David Marshall match. But you walk into that night before the game. Players are out in the park training, but there was a cloud. There was clouds just hanging over the floodlights. You're so high up that you're sitting going, I'm on level with the clouds that are hanging over the floodlights. It was just magical to see. But my favourite, I've been to some, lucky enough to be to some crackers. I was just about every game in Celtic's run to Seville. I was just about every game on Rangers' run to Manchester, and that I didn't think it was going to be possible in my time as a journalist to cover Scottish teams getting to European finals. So these two events were incredible. My favourite one, I have to admit, if I'm racking my brains, will be 2005 in Istanbul, AC Milan versus Liverpool, and that was just the most. Oh, it was the most astonishing. The whole thing about it, I'll blow you for a second. The place, the stadium, the Ataturk's miles out of town, so a taxi driver could only take me so far. He dropped me off about, I'm not kidding you, no exaggeration, about 2 miles away from the stadium, in the middle of nowhere, and it was just all you could see for miles. It was the road to Damascus, just Liverpool fans walking, trying to get to this stadium. I ended up, and I've got my laptop and a suit on, and I'm absolutely scorching. I ended up having to jump through a field with sheep to get to take a shortcut to try and get to the stadium. And I remember that, and then obviously the game, and I'm an admirer of Liverpool. Let's just say so. At half time, I'm absolutely distraught. I'm writing my stuff. I don't even want to be here. I'm wondering how I'm going to get back to the airport because I'm out in the middle of nowhere and I've no idea. So I'm kind of going through the motions, bang, send it, and then the second half happens, and oh my word, that was just genuinely beyond belief, a beyond the belief moment. That one.
That's an incredible one to be at, eh?
Daniel, I think away wins in the Champions League, because they're so rare for Scottish clubs, I always think they mean a bit more. We were talking earlier, just before we come on here, about Brendan Rodgers only won 3 Champions League games, group stage games, and 2 of them as Celtic manager. I was there the night they beat Anderlecht 3-0. That was their joint record win, Celtics in the competition, 3-0. That was a good night. But I think the one that tops a lot for me was Rangers beating Lyon 3-0 away from home in the Champions League under Walter Smith. Lyon were the 6th time, I think they won 6 in a row in the French league. And Rangers beat them 3-0. That was some night. I think that one probably tops a lot for me.
Yeah, what about the time you saw Blythe Spartans winning the Vanarama Cup? Didn't it solid whole waters?
I've been at some of them, yeah.
I went about 7 or 8 years ago. I was in Zambia and I went to the opening of the national stadium against Lesotho, and it was great. It was a weird experience, but it was great. But at the end, they were like, "We're going to have fireworks," and the fireworks were just 2 guys with shotguns, which was an interesting experience, but it was good.
Aye.
Not quite Liverpool and Ataturk Stadium, but you know.
Well, the Glasgow Derby sometimes. How you need to call it?
The Old Firm game, you mean, Mick?
Well, listen, let's guess my arm here.
Right, before I let us go, guys, before I let you go, Mick, and get on with your pre-match duties, I'll throw a couple more comments at you. How about this one here? Sorry if I could find it. Mike King, never mind a win or a draw, nothing less than a win. I think in all the Champions League history, we've never won an opening game. So tonight, this is where it all kicks off for a better future. And Michael Hoy is very confident. He's saying this is the best Celtic team since Martin O'Neill. I honestly think we could go all the way. We're really solid and skillful, especially with the new players. I doubt that any of us are going to say they'll go all the way, but guys, hit me with your predictions for tonight.
Right, what I will say about that last comment is that in that piece that I wrote ahead of tonight's game, I made that exact point. I think that potentially this is probably the strongest squad that Celtic have taken into a European campaign since 2003. I don't think I would argue against that. I think that's fair. Predictions for tonight, I've already kind of blown my cover on that. I'm going 2-1 Celtic, and I think they should just be happy with the 3 points any way they can get them. Anything better than that, brilliant. But I just think there's so much on this one tonight. Get the 3 points.
3-0 is the biggest result, I think, against Benfica and Anderlecht. That's their biggest winning margin. I see bookies are offering just 92 for a record-breaking win. They reckon they can win by 4 goals. But I've gone for 3-0 on the paper today, and I'm sticking with that.
Mick, what do you think?
See, I can't remember what I put the paper today, so I'm going
You went 2-1, Mick.
We've got
2-1. I'm glad you got it in front of you.
Got it right here.
I actually think 3-1. I think they might get 3 as well. But I think keeping a clean sheet might not be as straightforward as that as well. I think 3-1. I think they'll get 3 points tonight. Off the flyer.
You've changed his mind. You've changed your mind,
Mate. Yesterday. You sleep on it. Daniel, you were saying earlier there that Celtic haven't won an opening Champions League game. I don't think they've scored a goal in the opening fixture, have they, since Nakamura's free kick at Old Trafford in 2006? That was the last time they scored a goal in an opening Champions League group fixture. So
18 years, it's pretty mad.
That was only 9.
what a goal it was.
Before we actually go, Keith, we had quite a strong reaction in the comment section to your piece in today's Record Sport about Hamza Ingame. I don't know if you wanted to maybe touch on that before we wrap up. I'll throw a couple of comments at you. Robert D, really impressed by the kid. First touch was good, wasn't scared to run at players. Unless you have players running beyond them, I just wonder if he could play in the 10 row behind Dessers. Sal here saying there were far too many criticising the signing of Ingame before he even kicked a ball. Looks talented. These gambles are the gambles you have to take in our position. And Scott Walker simply says he looks a good player, but has anyone seen him and Chris Kamara in the same room? There's a wee likeness there.
Chris Kamara.
What's the wee tash?
That's a wee bit when you look at him, by the way, there is.
What's the wee tash?
Yeah, it's interesting. As I said yesterday, I did an interview with the Belgian coach who plucked him out of youth football level in Morocco and put him straight into the first team. And I think he's even listen. This guy could have come out and said, "Yeah, I'm a star finder here. I've pulled a rabbit out of the hat with this kid. Nobody else could see him, only me." But he didn't do any of that. He said, "Look, he is a really good player. He was a really interesting player. He was big. He was strong. But there was a lot of doubts in Morocco. Will this guy be the real deal? Is he good enough to make it? Or does he just look good in the academy because he's bigger and stronger than everybody else he's playing against at his age level?" But I think Sven Vandenbroek was the Belgian who gave him that chance. And he does speak positively about him as well, about the raw potential that he's got. I think he said, "Look, you know what? See Morocco, they want wee guys. They want wee wingers, wee guys that dribble with the ball. That's what their idea of a player is." So he's a sort of breaking the mold guy in Morocco. Ingamani. I'll get it right one of these days. He's strong. He's powerful. He looks rapid. I think he enjoys the physical duels with centre halves. There's a little touch of maybe even Alfredo Morelos there. You say it that one of his biggest strengths was he could go up against two centre halves and really occupy them physically. What I've seen of this kid already, some of the runs that he's made, some of the touches that he's had with the ball at his feet, he looks to be, I think, maybe technically better. You don't want to get ahead of yourself, and you certainly don't want to put pressure on this boy because he's 21. He's just arrived in the country. Yeah. Rangers are in the middle of a terrible start to the season, and there'll be a lot of fans clinging to the hope that this guy could be the ray of light, the ray of sunshine. I think there's a lot of that. But has there been enough over his first two short cameo roles to suggest that Rangers might have a player in their hands? I think so, and I'll be interested because if I was Clement, I'd be starting him at the weekend, giving him a start against Dundee and saying, go out there and show everybody what you can do and let Dessers have the afternoon off. That's what I'd be doing. Yeah,
he definitely offers something different. That's the thing, isn't it? It was just the frustration of so many attacking moves breaking down with Cyril Dessers, isn't it? Just seeing that ball
bouncing off him like a wall.
And that, I think that was what fans were so enthusiastic about when they watched him on Sunday. Just someone who can link the play up more and offer something different. I
tell you one word of warning though from Sven Vandenbroek. He did say that he's not an out-and-out killer in the penalty box. And so if Rangers fans are looking at this, because what's the complaint? The age-old complaint with Cyril Dessers is he needs 5 chances to score 1. Yeah. And from all accounts here, this boy might not be a natural predator. Yeah. The suggestion is that he makes his chances by running at people. He's not really a poacher of goals, a 6-yard guy. Rangers have been crying out for a guy to finish chances. I'll be really interested to see if he does get a run out against Dundee. If the chances come to him, Is he clinical? Is he more clinical than Dessers?
Yeah.
Does he need 3 chances instead of 5?
Yeah.
That'll be the interesting thing.
Or could they play as a pair? No.
Well, that's what the Belgian coach was saying is that he felt that's his best suited playing beside another striker, because it lets him come deep, get on the ball and run at people from slightly deeper areas. And I think he thinks that's where he would thrive. He says, because then he's great with assists. The problem is, if he's great with assists, how many more chances is Dessers going to get that he's going to miss? That's going to aggravate everybody again. So I don't know. I'm really interested. I do think there's something there with him, and I'm interested to see. He's got to settle into the new country. I think he only speaks Arabic as well. So there's a whole lot that needs to happen with this young man's development over the next couple of years. But does he look like one that Rangers can get excited about? I think he does.
Before we wrap up, guys, let's finish in this comment. Greg in Canada says, growing up a Rangers fan, Rangers family, I always want the Scottish clubs to do well in Europe, so hoping for a solid victory and start for Celtic tonight. I'm sure that is a sentiment that will be shared by Rangers fans all over the country.
I thought you were going to say, so come on, Vladimir Weiss.
Guys, thank you very much. That brings us to the end of tonight's Hotline Live with Record Sport. If you put in a comment, thank you. We'll be back tomorrow at 6 p.m. Mick, enjoy the game.
Catch you that chance away from my pre-match pie.
That's it, enjoy.
Be careful with your guts there, Mick.
Yeah, just watch you don't end up in the toilet again.
And thanks for watching.
I'm not as nice as they are on the new camp, I don't think.
Very delicate constitution.
Thanks for watching.
Cheers,
Cheers.
Enjoy the game. Thanks, Daniel. Thanks.